Remember how you loved the stories at bedtime about princesses and fairy godmothers? Well, you may want to hold on tighter to your teddy bear and keep that nightlight on, because these are not your mother's bedtime stories.
All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Not Your Mother's Bedtime Story. This is episode 2, and before we introduce our guests, coming down the line, this is Sherry. If you don't recall from last episode, I'm the youngest and the coolest.
I'm Chrissy. I'm the middle sister, but I am not Jan Brady.
Hi, this is Colleen. Don't forget, Sherry's the one that drinks the most, too.
That's what makes me funny.
And I am Karen. I am the mother and responsible for all these three.
All right. And so today with us, we have 2 special guests. We have Jenny and Jason Buntemeyer. These are our cousins. And they have had their fair share of creepy and spooky and unexplained experiences. But we're going to concentrate on one in particular. Jason is going to talk about a house that he used to live in. And Jenny also had some experiences there. So they're going to give us their kind of story, and we've got a couple of others, but just be prepared. These are pretty creepy tales here. So with that, Jenny, Jason, I'll hand it over to you guys if you want to kick things off.
All right. So I should probably start saying, like, when Lena was a baby, she would always look like she was looking at somebody else in the room throughout being a baby, and then when she was a toddler. She would always look around and talk to people. She would talk about Guka often, and we had no idea who the heck Guka was. And come to find out, she was at my mom's, her grandma's, and she saw a picture of Grandma on the wall next to Grandpa. And then she started pointing and saying, "It's Guka." And what really creeped me out was, do you guys remember when we were kids, how when Grandma would bounce us on her knee, she would kind of hum that little tune. She's like, "Deedly, deedly, deedly, deedly." Lena was doing that one time when she was little, playing with her babies.
Oh man, I just got goosebumps. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh God,
that's creepy. And Jason, I'll interrupt you right away. So just to clarify, so Lena obviously is your daughter. Mm-hmm. Lena actually too is the artist of our cover art, by the way, our fantastic cover art. So, but yes,
yeah, and she's 13 now, and she doesn't remember any of this now when we talk about it. So it's kind of left her, and I was always the biggest pessimist, or not pessimist, but I just didn't believe. Skeptic, that's the word I was looking for. I didn't really believe any of that, but when because I hadn't heard that little ditty in years. I never thought about it anymore. It was almost out of my mind until she was bouncing her baby on her knee and she's doing that, and I just stopped dead in my tracks, and I'm like, looking at her, and then, she kept talking about Guka, and so, I don't know, I really feel like, I don't know how the heck else she would have known about that. So that all started when she was little, just starting to talk to us about things. And another instance which kind of creeped us out is we were riding in her car, and she started talking to somebody in the back seat with her. And my wife, Krista, she like, "Who are you talking to, Lena?" And she said, "Well, I'm Guy." She just referred to him as Guy, but then she was describing him as having torn up pants and bloody knees, and his face was all messed up, but he had a helmet on. And she kept reiterating that he was wearing a helmet. Like, she's like, "Oh, he's hurt real bad. His face is messed up, but he's wearing a helmet. He had a helmet on." Like she kept, like, it was important to get that across, that he had his helmet on. So we still don't know what the heck was going on with that, or who that was, or we never heard anything about, if there's a motorcycle accident there or anything. But she had a very wild imagination.
That's like some That's some Sixth Sense stuff right there. That's so great.
I know, like I got like goosebumps going up my whole leg.
But now she has no recollection of that. She doesn't have any experiences anymore. But all of that kind of led me and Jenny to we thought we were messing around one night because all this stuff was happening in the house we were living in. Pretty newly married. Lena was a baby, or she was growing. She was what do you think, Jenny? 3?
Yeah, it was about 3.
It was about the time when a lot of this stuff was happening, and she was doing all this stuff that we were like, hey, maybe there's ghosts in our house. So we were just drinking, goofing around, and then we started messing with the EVP. I had a little voice recorder, and we would just hit record and set it down and just talk. And we were clowning around a lot of the night. And then I caught one. It was plain as day. It was a woman's voice. And I have it. I have it right here. I don't know if we'll be able to hear it, but I'll try to play it for you. See if you guys can hear it. It's a woman's voice, and there was no woman anywhere near this when I was hitting record, and she whispers, "Why won't you let me be?" or "Why won't you love me?" and then exhales. And it's pretty clear. And that's the night when after Jenny left, the deadbolt slammed shut. It might have been New Year's Eve.
Well, I think we did it like 3 separate occasions. We first messed around one night, and you were standing up. We were trying to take pictures of apparitions. We turned the lights out, and then just would take pictures with flash. And Jason would be in poses, and we'd be all laughing and being silly. And then he had the EVP out, and I said, but everybody was drinking, and he said, "Is there anybody here?" And I said, "It's me." But I thought everybody heard me. So when he did the recording back, everybody's like, "Oh my God, did you hear that?" It's like, "It was me, idiots." It's like, I just said it. You didn't hear me say it? We were all laughing, and then he did that, and then all of a sudden he played that back. He said it again, but we were messing around for a good hour, and he said it again, and that's when we got that. And then Jason jumped up. He's like, "Yeah, we'll leave you alone." It's like, "We're not going to mess with you anymore." We were poking him a little too much, and I think they got a little mad.
Yeah. We caught a couple of them on New Year's Eve. I can't remember if that was before New Year's Eve or after.
I don't remember.
When we tried saging the house, we're trying any trick we could to get them out, and then that's when I was recording, and I forgot it was recording. And Krista went through with the sage, and then you heard a male's voice, really gruff, call her a effing bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that was creepy.
Yeah.
Do you ever investigate the history of the house to see who might have lived there, or how old was it? An old house?
Yeah, well, see, it was an older house, but that's the thing is I bought the house from the person who built it. They were in their late 90s, and so nothing ever creeped. That's why we were thinking it was Lena that somehow had the connection and brought him in, because I never experienced really anything like that in my adult life until Lena started walking and talking. And then I really think that we really were stirring the shit pot too much by doing all that stuff that night, because after that stuff was getting a little weirder. And I actually had the Mississippi Valley paranormal investigators come to the house one night, just because there was just a ton of brooms falling. We'd hear it fall, and then we go into the other room and it'd be back up but upside down. So the handle was on the ground and the bristles were sticking up.
And nobody puts up brooms like that. It's like, did you do that? Did you do that? No, I did not do that.
No. Yeah, so it started getting really, really weird, and even creeping me out, and even being skeptical. And I heard, we had a couple of vibrating toothbrushes in the medicine cabinet, and it was a metal medicine cabinet, and both mine and Krista's turned on at about 3:30 in the morning inside the cabinet, and it was vibrating. It was so loud, it scared the heck out of me. I jumped up, I'm running into Lena's room because I thought it was coming from there, because it was right on the other side. The bathroom's right on the other side of her room. And then I realized I went in, opened the medicine cabinet, and both those toothbrushes were sitting there vibrating.
Well, as the wife of a dentist, maybe the ghost wanted to practice some good oral hygiene.
Yeah.
There's always room for that, even in the afterlife. I don't know.
I must have forgot to brush that night or something. Both of them. That's the thing. Like, I could see one, and Lena had one of those little. I didn't think so. Lena had one of those little, like a dog that had, pressed me on the ear lobes and the paws. It would say different things. And I'd heard something one night, and I was, kind of in Davenport, and we had people come around breaking into the garage and stuff at times. So I heard something. So I got up and I was walking around the house with the lights out, looking out the window, seeing if I could see anybody. I didn't see anything, and I was walking back through the dining room, and Lena had one of those little bears, or that dog, sitting on the other end. And as I walked through, I heard it giggle and say, "Peekaboo, I see you," and then giggle again. And if I hadn't just went to the bathroom when I got up, I probably would have right there, because it scared before I realized what it was. And that's one thing I could try to explain. Hey, the batteries were dying, maybe it was going through, but all of that stuff added together, it turned into be just a whole bunch of creepy crap.
Did you chuck that thing in the garbage?
Yeah, I think that night it went outside.
No, it's currently sitting in the Warren's museum next to Annabelle.
Right.
I don't know what it is about like toys. Like toys getting like animated by themselves and coming to life. Man, there's nothing.
Yeah, and a high pitched giggle with it.
Yeah.
I have to boot that thing out the house.
Yeah, and it's like to pick that sound, like
right when I'm walking through,
I see you, like.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, that's creepy. Kids' toys are creepy in general. Like, I got two dolls looking at me right now, and over here, Lainey's dolls. But it's like, yeah, toys are just like, and they had this like magnetic puzzle where you would put the animals in, and it would make the animal sound. And I remember like going at night, and the dang rooster would always go off, and it's like it was pitch black. I'm heading up the stairs, and all of a sudden I hear this. I'm like, oh shit, like, oh, I'm getting out of here, it's like,
yeah, we have those same puzzles. They're like light sensitive, so like you can totally debunk that, but it's still like in the moment doesn't like alleviate your fears at all as you're walking away and you hear the rooster crow or the dog bark, and you're like, no, not again. So Jenny, I remember you then went to kind of do your own. I didn't know the Mississippi Valley Paranormal Society went, but you tried to do your own investigation also, and it kind of ended up provoking whatever was there. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he started getting angry, I think.
There was a man and a woman, I think. I don't know. There's two voices.
There's two voices. It was the male's voice is the one that very violent, because the Mississippi Valley Paranormal Investigators, they caught a couple EVPs as well, and they all went outside to smoke. And when they came back in the house, you could hear that same male voice that called Krista effing bitch. He said, "You guys fucking stink." When they came back in, and that was on their website. I tried finding, I don't know if they're around anymore or not, but I couldn't find it. But they had all those recordings on their website too that they caught in my house.
And did Lena ever say anything about what she saw? Like, did she see them at all, or did she talk about?
No, not really. I mean, she was, like I said, she was still really young. And when we tried to talk to her about it, she would agree when we'd ask her pointed questions like, are you talking to somebody? And yeah, well, who is it? And then, she wouldn't really be able to answer us too much. But the only ones that really stuck out were a guy that we assume it was a guy that wrecked his motorcycle. And then Grandma, which she always called Guka. She would never really, she would look at stuff. And actually, there's one other time, it was at Debbie's. I don't know if Debbie remembers that. We were there for Thanksgiving. And, at the end of their bar, she was probably only about 3 at that point, too. There were some toys there still. And a lot of the other kids that were there, they were a little bit older. So Lena was playing by herself most of the evening. We were down there having some drinks. And then we all went up to eat. And I told Lena, I said, come on, honey. And she took a couple steps and turned around and held her hand back and said, come on, and held her hand out for nobody. And we all went upstairs. And that next day, Debbie found Nikki's hospital band on the floor down there with the toys.
Oh, no.
Oof.
Oh, my gosh. How would that have gotten there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for our listeners, we have another Aunt Debbie, and sad tragedy, lost her daughter at 9. She was 9 years old from an illness, and so that was her hospital band. But that's chilling.
And this was years, but I mean, Nikki was Colleen's age, between Colleen and Jenny, right? In terms of, yeah. So
83, 83. I think she died. So
that's crazy. Yeah. I mean, she definitely had to have some kind of sight. And I remember your mom talking about it too. I don't know, Jenny, if you had it when you were little, like you talked to people that, or, things that weren't there, people that weren't there. I mean,
my mom said that she went to a psychic once and said I had the ability and she needs to start working with me now because apparently you can lose it. So I'm in a way kind of thankful because I don't know if I'd want to do that. But that was also when we went out to the farm the one time she saw me walking on the bed rail and she went to grab me and her arms went right through me. And I don't know what that meant, if it was like I was having an out-of-body experience or it wasn't me or something. But then another time they were out there and I was wearing pink bottoms and white top. And when my mom brought me down, my dad saw it. And when mom brought me down, dad looked over and said, she was wearing, pink bottoms. And she's like, no, she had this on all night. He's like, I saw her and she was wearing pink bottoms and a white top. He's like, no, this is what she's wore the whole time. So I really don't know what that means, and I don't have anything now. I don't have an.
That's the story I remember. It's almost like a doppelganger or something. Like, yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. But yeah, I mean, same thing with Lena. I mean, if she doesn't remember, she doesn't. I mean, you wonder at what age that starts and stops. I mean, I remember Kane would look past me and like talk to somebody and I'd look at like, who are you talking to? I mean, he was like 2, 3 and and he would talk about things and he doesn't talk about it anymore. But yeah, it's like that age around like that 3-year-old, 2, 3, 4-year-old. It's just, I mean, it's the creepiest thing. I mean, he was taking a bath and I walked into the, I'm standing in the doorway and he's just looking past me. He's going, hi. And I'm like, who are you saying hi to? Like, I'm right here. There's nobody behind me. It's so creepy.
I've heard this before, that children see the world as like a lantern. So they're taking it all in. They see everything. They got the whole sight. But then when you become an adult or even an older child, you see everything with like a flashlight vision. Like it's only one way and you're only taking it in one way. As with a child, they're seeing everything. They're taking everything in. So they're aware of everything and they don't have their own thoughts or opinions to sway them a different way. Like when you hear a bump or something, like, well, that's just that. That's just that. Well, kids don't see it that way. So you're able to see all those kind of things, and it's more of an innocence with them.
I think also with animals like dogs and small children, they can see further on the spectrum than you can. So as you get older, then that's also why pets can sometimes sense things that we can't see or hear.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, the veil is thinner, they say, with kids, and that's why kids are creepy, man. Don't trust your kids.
I know.
Kids are creepy.
Jason, I remember hearing a story about there was like footprints under the bed or something like that.
Yeah. We had hardwood floor in our bedroom, and I can't remember why I had moved the bed. We had it pushed up against the windows, and I might have been doing something with the curtains or the blinds. but I slid the whole bed out, and there's just a fine layer of dust. And I didn't notice it right away because there wasn't, I don't want to sound like I'm that dirty, but there wasn't that much dust. So looking straight down, you couldn't really see it. And when I'd walked out of the room, and as I was coming back in, the light from the windows were going down, and you could just see the angle, and I could see a child's footprints walking across where the bed was. And Lena wasn't there. I was there by myself, and it was way too small to be either mine or Krista's feet, and it was under the bed. So unless they had feet that were a size 10 in child's and they were only 6 inches tall, I don't know how anybody could have walked under the bed like that and left those footprints. But that was kind of weird too.
Whew, that is creepy.
And didn't Lena say something about it?
I don't remember that.
When she saw it, I thought it was like
that would probably really creep me out if
came
that was
out or something.
I don't remember that. We asked her if she did that, and she said no. And then I asked Krista, I'm like, well, how the heck could she have done it? That bed hasn't moved in a year, So I don't know how. And I don't know how that could have possibly happened.
Wow. So you think so? There's definitely a man, an angry man, and there was maybe an old lady too, because wasn't she like hunched over, like trying to mimic the old woman?
Yeah, she did that a couple times. She was kind of like she was walking with a cane with a really hunched back, and it's hard to really say where that came from. It could have just been being a kid, being silly, but we were like, maybe that's who she's been talking to, who she sees, and she's imitating it.
And so talk about after Jenny left and the door deadbolted, and just the kind of the moment of what that was, and then after, and kind of what you were doing.
Yeah, it was that night when we were doing all the goofy shit with the EVP and taking pictures in the dark and all that. And then when Jenny was getting ready to leave, she's like, okay, you guys stay here. And she left. And
I did. I was like, all right, go.
Jenny's like, I don't want that.
Why don't you guys go and stay here and don't follow me?
And me and Chris were both sitting in the chairs, and Jenny leaves, shuts the door, and then, I don't know, 30 seconds later, that deadbolt slams shut. And it's an older door. The house was built in 48, and it was the original door. And the deadbolt locked. And, me and Chris looked at each other, and I thought Jenny was out there with the key, and she locked it. And I went out there, and her car's gone, and Krista's just beside herself. She's freaking out. She's ready to get Lena out of bed, and she wants to leave for the night. And I called Jenny. I'm like, was that you? And she could hear Krista flipping out. And she's like, you can tell her it was me if it'll calm her down. She's like, but we're almost home, And I tried shutting the lock, about halfway just to see if it would balance there, and then shut the rest of the way just from gravity. But even if it did, it wouldn't slam with the force it did when it shut.
I mean, that's just crazy to have that much force to be able to. I mean, anybody who's ever locked a deadbolt knows that it takes a little bit. I mean, you almost have to kind of get the door right and to turn it, but to have it slam. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I might have been on Krista's side at that point.
Yeah. They really wanted you on it, Jenny.
I always try telling Krista to calm her down. I'm like, even if it is some weird supernatural thing, have you ever heard of anybody being killed by them? They can't hurt us. And then she brought up all the times when, the brooms would fall over the deadbolt lock. She's like, obviously they can do something. And there were times too when we were both in the living room, and we could literally hear the glass slide across the counter and then fall on the ground and break on the kitchen floor. Yeah, you could hear it, like the friction of it slide across the countertop and then fall. So whatever they're doing at work, because we moved out.
So the people that live there now, do you still?
No, I'm not going to know. If I kept that house for another probably 7 years after I moved out and rented it out. I just kept it as a rental, and no one really said anything. I never really asked either. I didn't want to put that as a caveat in the rental, the lease agreement. It's house is haunted, but no one ever complained. Yeah.
Your state, I don't know if your state is one that you have to disclose that or not. There are some states where you have to disclose whether the house is haunted before you sell it. So I can't remember if your state is. I will not say your state, but if your state is one of those states. But
yeah.
Well, I mean, so I guess the question goes back to that Mississippi, the paranormal. Like, did they ever have any conclusions? Like, did they ever? I mean, normally though, like
they basically they said there's obviously activity. They did experience some papers when they walked into, I think, Lena's room. She had some drawings that she had on her dresser, and the door was already open. No windows were open. It was cold. It was winter. And they walked in and some paper flew off the desk in front of them. And they caught several EVPs, but the only one that I could really understand, they had them posted on their website. And I couldn't really hear anything except for maybe 2 or 3, like that when they came in from smoking, you could hear them say that they stink. And then a couple other times, it was always that male voice, a real mean sounding one. I can't find I caught him too, yelling, cursing at Krista, but I do have the female's voice, and I have it here if you guys want to try to listen to it. Okay. Yeah, you'll hear me
let's hear it.
Say,
let's give it a go.
I think I'll say it's recording, then you hear it click, and I'll say, okay, the lights are off. And right as I'm saying that, or right about when I'm done saying the lights are off, you'll hear her say, why won't you love me, or why won't you let me be? I'll try to see if you guys can hear it. Were you guys able to catch that?
I heard it.
Oh yeah, I heard it.
I heard it a little bit. Yeah, it's very faint. It's very faint, but yeah, it's like, and it. It had to be like right next to
exactly because we were on a sectional, and I was on the far end of it, and Krista and then Jenny was on the other side. And I set it down to the right of me, and everybody's on the far left, and it sounds like she's speaking directly into it.
But just a soft whisper. Mm-hmm. I mean, but it's there. I mean, you can definitely, because you can hear you, and then it's just.
Mm-hmm. That's like the clearest one I've ever heard.
No, let's play it again. One more time.
Then that big exhale at the end. Were you guys able to hear that any better?
Yeah, I heard the exhale this time. I don't think I heard that the first time, but I still can't decide. Like you said, what she's saying. If it's why won't you love me, or what? It kind of sounds like the B. I almost pick up the B part, but. Were you guys bugging her before
most of the night?
Is that what?
we were being dumb and drinking, and like I said, we were taking pictures and making fun of everything, and then
I mean, we'd hit record and then just.
Well, that would make sense to sigh at the end too.
Yeah, right.
It would make sense.
We'd hit record, we'd ask questions,
and
just
leave me alone.
Just being dumb all night, and then we caught that, and we're like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, we were pretty much like, okay, bye. We'll leave you alone.
Jeez. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's some crazy business. I mean, and just all of that, all those things. But you said, I mean, so what age do you think Lena was where she stopped? Like where you really didn't hear about it anymore?
I would say, I mean, after about preschool age, kindergarten, it just started. She would just not talk about it. Even then, we tried to ask her a few times. She was like, "No, why?" And she was, I think, too young to really wrap her head around it when we'd ask her, and she would never recall anything. never talk about it. Now I think what she knows is just from what she remembers us telling her, but she says she has no recollection of any of it.
Now ask Krista if we can do an EVP anywhere.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and then we saw a Ouija board at a bookstore, and Lena went to go look at it, and Krista's like, "Lena, get away from it!" And Lena turns around and looked at her and is like, "It's made by Hasbro." Like, calm down. Yeah, well, she won't.
If she's listened to our first episode, and then she'll definitely be scared of those.
Yeah, we can't even do the EVPs because she swears that's what
she might have
stirred
more of an
the
insight. Yeah, she's more sensitive, right?
Right. Krista thinks that we stirred the pot and created all that stuff by doing all this, but
yeah, we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, I can't even imagine if Lena got on a Ouija board. Oh my gosh.
She would. We should do that on a podcast.
Nope.
Nope. Again, our last episode cautioned you against this highly.
Where? Whose house? Not mine. Oh, jeez, no. No. Mm-hmm.
Well, these are awesome stories. I don't know. Do you guys want to hear the other ones that I found? Sure. Similar? Yeah. Do you want to move into that? Okay. So, like I said, it's a black hole there. So I was looking for some that kind of aligned with it, with kids and things like that. So there's one that, hold on. Kane printed these. He put them in the right order.
He's fired.
Okay. So this one says, no, he actually did put them in the right order. He's a good secretary. We had paranormal activity at our former house, like things being thrown, lights being turned off while I was showering, opening and closing sliding doors in front of me, etc. But it didn't feel real until I heard a male voice talking to my toddler while she was supposed to be sleeping. She was talking back, man voice responding, and we didn't have any kind of speaker or baby monitor in her room. I then heard it growl, and she growled back. I listened to it all because at first I thought my husband had come home for lunch. I opened her door, and it was just her standing in her crib. I asked her who she was talking to, and she told me a man while pointing to the corner of her room. That's when it became real, and the real terror in our house began. Happy to be in a different state now.
Jeez. Yeah, the growl. That's like that's when you're like worried about demonic or something like that. Those. Yeah.
But she growled back. I'd be putting holy water on her.
Yeah. The power of Christ compels you.
Growl back. Okay. You don't get scared. You just growl back.
Right? I mean, well, again, the kids, like, they don't know. I mean, it's just like, hey, some guy's growling. I'll growl back at you. Kind of give her props for that. It's not gonna mess with me.
Crib.
This is my crib. Oh, and then, so this one, it said, I've had some experiences that I never forgot. There was this one time, maybe I was 15 or 16 at the time. I suddenly woke up with an old man sitting in a fetal position near where my feet were. I never told anyone about this, so no one believes in our house that I never saw that man again. But then after a few days, my youngest brother would cry every time he passed my room and would never dare enter. He was 4 or 5 at the time. My mother would ask every time when he was crying, why? He would just say there was an old man in my room, and the first time I heard their conversation gave me a whole world of creeps. Ew. Like, why is an old man in the fetal position?
Yeah, for some reason, that just alone creeps me out.
Ew. Was he on her feet, though? Keeping it warm?
Right? I'm like, ew, I don't know. Yeah, there was this.
That's creepy.
There's one other one that talks about, and this one I kind of, because they did bring in a paranormal team, So it said, my sister bought a house. She sent me pictures with strange looking things in it. She said she felt like she was being watched and the dog was acting weird. I told her to call a reputable paranormal team to investigate. She did. They brought in the whole shooting match of equipment. My sister sent me copies of the transcripts and audio recordings. I said they had to be fake and I was going to prove it. I drove to her house, spent a week there with a digital recorder. This is also why I said it. I'm like, oh, this is Jenny. She's pulling up. She's got her recorder. Did the recordings under different conditions at different times. I put the recorder in a Faraday cage. The results I got sent me on a mission to find out how the hell those whispers got on there. I got recordings of the same intelligence that the paranormal team did, along with many others. I compared both recordings, and it's the same guy responding to comments the lead investigator made, and subsequently my comments a couple of weeks later. I've been on a quest ever since. The house was like a big wormhole. No one died in it, yet there were so many ghosts in it. Miles of the land under it is haunted, and 2 schools up the road. Kids see the dead janitor that died there. I don't expect to convince anyone of anything, but I'll be researching for many years. I hope I'm still alive when quantum theorists can prove things. So.
Wow.
Jeez.
But yeah, so that one kind of like, reminded me of similar things. Those were the stories that I found that aligned with similar situations, but
yeah, it is weird. It's like you just never know. I mean, like, there's nothing special about your house, and like what makes something special, where stuff just kind of hangs on and gets creepy. I don't know. We just don't know.
Or could it have been that Lena was like a conduit?
Right.
That's what we assumed, because there's nothing special about the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't on some weird burial ground or, anything like that. There's nothing that we could show that any reason for it to be creepy other than Lena. And then when we kept stirring him up, asking him stupid questions, but we couldn't. I really would like to try again. Maybe I can do it without Krista sometime, but she'd never forgive me.
So in your new house, like, have you had any weird things or
nothing really since then? Nothing since Lena started getting older, and we left that house. That was about the last time anything creepy happened. I know.
It's too bad we can't go back out to the farm again.
We should go do it.
I mean, we could, but we'd probably get arrested.
They're friends with Lauren and Nancy and Tim, so if we asked ahead of time, they might let us go out there, but I don't think they want us to bring a Ouija board back into that space.
Right, come out there with a recorder and a Ouija board under our arm. Hey,
can we go in and rustle up all the ghosts and then leave?
You can stay a night in that Villisca Axe Murder House in southern Iowa.
Oh yeah.
We should do a podcast from there.
Oh yes,
overnight.
Yes.
Are you guys game for that?
Yeah. I would be.
No. I think we should try it once, right?
Heck yeah.
I mean, if it was all of us, I think maybe, but I'm usually the first one to fall asleep, so I'd wake up, everybody be gone.
You'd have a mustache drawn on
everybody
your face
be gone.
It wasn't us, Johnny, it was ghosts.
Your hand in the hot water.
Right.
We would.
No, that would be the best. Like, if we did do that, like, Jenny falls asleep, we do that, and then we all leave the house. It's like, okay, let's see if she wakes up.
You all put blood on yourselves and then put a bloody axe in my hand and I wake up.
Oh, boy. Jeez.
Stay tuned, podcast friends. Yeah, to all the listeners out there, this is what happens when our family gets together.
Yeah, after football, after a lot of drinking.
Football night.
Oh, goodness.
Night. Drinking, yelling.
Lots of good ideas.
Any other thoughts, you guys?
Can't really think of anything right now. I know there's a lot of stuff we're probably missing, but
Well, if you do, we'll bring you back, for another episode. And we definitely want to talk to you guys about what happened at your house when you guys were little. Maybe get your mom in here and tell the stories of you've had some old homes that you guys have lived in.
I remember stories that she was telling about.
Yeah, again, I mean, I wonder if it was similar, like a similar thing with Lena. It was just, it didn't matter about the house.
Because Jenny
it was more
had
about the people.
The shine.
Oh. Yeah.
The shine.
It is hereditary.
Your mom is sensitive, though, right, Jenny? Right?
Yep.
Yeah, your mom is sensitive. I thought she was.
Yeah. Yeah, she said she's had a couple issues at her house out there.
The new one?
But they were pretty minor. Yeah, I've only had one issue here at this house. When I moved in, I was all alone, and Liam's room creaks a lot, and it just like creaks like once or twice. And it's like, oh, it's getting cold out. The house creaks, and it sounded like steps, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I was like, I just said out loud, and I looked upstairs and I said, Jesus, would you just stop? And
it was
did.
Jesus?
So, and then nothing else ever happened. Because yeah, you said, yeah, no problem,
My bad.
child. No, I just said it out. It just was really creepy. It scared me. And I just said that out loud, and then nothing ever happened again. And nothing's ever, but it was just like, it sounded like steps. It was step, 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 step. It's like, oh, now just stop. So I said that out loud, and it quit. It was weird. It was
the poor
creepy.
ghost is probably like, oh, man.
All right, bye.
Fine. Bye. I'll go to Jason's house.
Yeah.
Casper didn't have legs.
Man, that's the problem. We don't know the rules, but apparently if you can level with them, hey, all the power to you.
Well, awesome, guys. We appreciate you coming on, and like Chrissy said, we'll probably bring you back for round 2. But this was awesome, and I'm sure it gave a lot of people goosebumps as it did myself. So.
Then maybe we can have her on next time, and
Ouija board.
I'll pretend I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
She'll understand after I tell her.
I think some old fashions.
No.
EVPs.
Krista, it's content.
Yeah.
Let's go to do it at Jenny's house.
Staging Ouija boards over there.
Great. Well, thank you guys. We hope you have a good night, and
bye.
Thank you everyone for listening to our episode. We will hopefully have a couple more coming out in the next couple weeks, but for now, take it away, Mom.
Thank you for listening, and remember to keep that night light on. Good night, sweet dreams.
If you have a story to share, please send it to notyourmothersbedtimestory@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at notyourmothersbedtimestory. And please help us grow by following us on your favorite podcast platform, leaving us a positive review, and telling a friend. Thank you for your support.